Okay, welcome back to Supernatural Sunday. I'm your host, Nikki Luciano. With me today is Missy, Mason, and Destiny. Um, if you hear any noise in the background, we also have a business meeting for our construction company going at the same time. So it's not spooks you're hearing, it's just my husband and my sons. So, how's everybody doing today? Um, it's been quite an eventful week for us. We've had quite a bit of spirit activity going on here ourselves. Um, I don't know. We're just going to relax today and take it as it comes. Whatever topic pops into our head, we're going to talk about because we've had so many. I hate having a scripted show. I don't want to sit here and sound like I'm reading every week. It's so mundane. Um, as many of you know, we live here in Wisconsin, and our weather is about as unpredictable as weather can get. Last week we had 70 degrees here. The next day it was 48. Yesterday we got like 2 inches of freaking snow. So it's like you can't ever pack away your winter clothes and bring out the summer clothes because Mother Nature kind of bitch slaps you with, well, take 3 inches today. I think I want to start talking about an incident that happened probably about, how old is Dallas now? He's 7. So it was about 7 years ago. We had my grandson's baptism party at the park. And my family likes to have as many outdoor events as possible. So we had it at the park, and all the grandkids could run around and play. And we try to take advantage of every nice day that we have, whether it's spring, summer, or fall. Um, so we had the baptism at the park, and everything was going according to plan. And um, it's just our local neighborhood park, and it's right by a pond, and there's a pier there where they can fish and stuff like that. And I've never been much of a water person, so I kind of avoid it. And everybody that knows me knows that I don't like bodies of water, be it a pond, a lake, a river, anything. Um, it's just me. I mean, I kind of get sketched out walking around a public pool. I kind of like walk sideways because it's just this deep seated fear I have. So anyway, we were all sitting there talking and watching the kids play, and out of nowhere, this park ranger comes up to us, and she's just kind of like lingering and mingling around in our party, and I was like, oh, what the, what? I was like, what do you do with this person? So I walked up to her and I said, can I help you? And I thought maybe somebody didn't pay to get into the park because you have to pay to be there. So she was like, oh, what's going on? What kind of party are you having? She was probably about, what, 5'6", 5'7", stocky build, and short, dark brown hair, and kind of manly looking, you know. And we told her that it was my grandson's baptism party. And she just started making small talk with everybody. And at first, we were like, okay, it's fine, just a park ranger trying to be friendly. And my daughters, I have 3 daughters. I have Missy, Haley, and Destiny. And it was them, my sister Marie, and my mother sitting around talking. Now, my older boys were there and they were kind of keeping an eye on her. They're my bodyguards. So, and Wayne, my husband, was out on the pier looking at the water because he's an avid fisher and he just likes the outdoors. So, anyways, we're sitting there talking, and this woman, this Mary, she introduced herself as Mary. So we call her Scary Mary Park Ranger. um, after the incident. But she just kept lingering around and trying to incorporate her opinion into our conversations. And she looked over at me, and I was wearing a tank top and a pair of jeans because the ceremony was over for the baptism. We changed into our comfy clothes and went to the park, you know. And she puts her hand near her neck and makes this back and forth motion. And she goes, "You're missing something." And I kind of looked down, and my daughters looked at me, and I looked at them, and we're like, what the hell is this freak show talking to us about, you know? And I asked her, I said, "What do you mean?" She goes, "I don't know, something right here." And she's still pointing to her neck chest area. I says, "You mean my crucifix?" And she goes, "Yeah, that's it." And I thought that was an odd comment, but I let it go because you meet all kinds of people wherever you go, you know? And I said, "Well, I took it off after church because I was going to go fishing and I didn't want to lose it." And she's like, "Do you pray?" And I thought, wow, that's really a strange question to ask somebody that you meet in a park. And I'm like, "Yeah, I pray. I pray the rosary all the time, you know, and we have Bible study." She's like, "Yeah, I have a prayer group too. You should join us sometime." Now, I can see in the background my sons are moving in closer. Uh, Jimmy and Vinny, they're moving in closer, and they're not liking what they're hearing, and I think they're picking up on my being uncomfortable, you know, and so they're moving in closer and closer, and she just keeps talking about how I should join her prayer group. Now, I don't know her from Adam, but I was trying to be nice because that's how I am. I'm cordial until you cross me or insult me or disrespect me. And so I just let her keep talking. And she's talking about this prayer group. And yeah, a bunch of us get together. And I wasn't going to ask her her religious beliefs or what she prays to because I was raised in an era where that was none of anybody's business. My grandma Rose always said, don't discuss politics or religion or race. So I let it go. But she kept lingering. And when I started to ignore her, she walked out on the pier and was talking to my husband. Now, I'm not the jealous type. I don't really care, you know. I mean, I trust my husband. We've been married for, well, now it's been 41 years. But my kids were kind of kidding around. They're like, "Ooh, Mom, there's a woman over there trying to move in on your man." But then I got this like weird vibe. And when I pick up a weird vibe about somebody, that's when I kick into action. Now, remember, I hate bodies of water and I will never walk out onto a pier, but that day I did. I walked out on the pier. I kind of charged out at the pier because I had a feeling that she was going to do something to my husband. And I don't mean in a sexual, you know, make a move on my man. I don't, you know, because I know my husband would have pushed her in the pond. But I just had this uneasy spiritual feeling about her at that moment. And I went walking out onto the pier and I stepped between my husband and this woman. And I said, "Come on, Wayne, let's go. It's time to cut the cake." And she shot me the dirtiest look I've ever received in my life. And we walked back over onto the grass. And she just kept lingering and kept lingering. And then my sons were picking up more and more bad karma from me, you know, bad juju, you know. And they started clapping in unison. They were just clapping as loud as they can and as hard as they could. And it was just repetitive, like,
because we were like we're kidding around and we're like, this lady's a devil. Like,
Yeah.
and we're
Well,
like, well, there's one thing to do. Like, if the devil's talking, you just make noise over him so you can't hear him.
well,
So like
that's
we
what
all
I,
started clapping.
yeah, that's why I always taught you kids, you have to distract the devil by doing that kind of thing, and it throws him off. So, yeah, they just kept clapping, and I kept looking over at my shoulder because I didn't know that this is what they were doing. I was looking at them like, what the hell are you doing? Um, but then Missy came over to me and she goes, Mom, you always taught us to distract the devil by clapping. And what is so funny over there?
Distract the devils.
Oh, so I said distract the devil. So Mason was trying to distract Destiny at that moment.
It worked though, so I mean, I'm kind of scared.
You have to understand that Mason and Desi were basically raised as twins, and wherever we go, people mistake them for twins. So when one's into mischief, I know the other is in cahoots with her. Dumb and Dumber.
Taught you everything I knew.
But anyways, so we just continued to stand our ground with this woman, and we sat in our chairs and just let her talk, you know. And finally, I think she got the point that we weren't gonna feed into her bullshit. So she like started to leave. And I remember Jimmy got really mad at me because I gave her my phone number because she's like, oh yeah, you're gonna have to, I'm gonna, give me your phone number. I want to call you so that we can get together for this prayer group.
Before that, before she left, she went through because we were all sitting there. We were all sitting in the bag chairs and she was standing there. And she went through and she's like, oh, you're a healer, you're a sensor.
Yeah, she went through and kind of named off all my family's gifts, spiritual gifts. Like she'd point to one and say, you're a healer, you're you're a sensitive, you're a seer, and naming off all
completely
these.
Pinpointed.
Yeah, completely pinpointed what we are capable of doing. And I found that odd. I mean, who does that?
Who walks up to a baptism and starts talking spirit, like ghosty stuff?
Yeah. There's a time and a place for
Those
it.
two also kind of don't coincide with each other. Usually Christians are kind of...
And that's what made me feel like it was Satan, actually, or one of his minions, coming and adding bad to the good day.
But what happened as she was walking away?
Oh, yeah.
One of us said something and she turned around and she goes, I see you.
No, she didn't turn around.
Yeah, she turned her head and looked right at us, like whipped her head around.
She continued walking into the woods.
And somebody made a face or something.
I did. I rolled my eyes and I was like,
I saw that.
Oh, yeah, we all were kind of like making faces.
Yeah. And then she said, I saw that, and just kept walking into the woods.
She turned her head and she, at one point, she was walking away and she like whipped her head around.
She said, I still see you.
Yeah, real creepily. She was like, I still see you in this real creepy voice.
Yeah, that was not a normal
At one point,
voice.
you told her a story and you were trying to explain the layout of the house, and she was like, oh, I'm familiar.
Yeah. I was explaining how, I live in a bi-level and upstairs is my kitchen. And well, at the time there were 3 bedrooms upstairs, a bathroom, and the kitchen and living room. The kitchen and the living room and the dining room. And that downstairs was this huge family room and a bedroom and a bathroom and the laundry room. And she goes, oh, I'm very familiar. And I just thought that an odd comment to make about when I'm describing my house. It kind of took me back to the whole William Sears thing, the guy with the astral travel abilities.
We have a kitchen upstairs, so we don't have like a typical bi-level.
No, because a typical bi-level, we don't have a basement. That's what a bi-level is. A typical bi-level, and we're in construction, so we see houses every day. The kitchen's usually on the first floor. and then upstairs would be all the bedrooms and, whatever.
Mhm.
But we know the person who built this house, and he wanted the kitchen upstairs.
Yeah.
But I just found that really, really strange. And then for her to walk away and without looking at us say, I see you, it was just odd. And then we're talking about it the whole ride home. Now, we have a very large family. Like I said, I have 8 kids and their significant others, and plus all the grandchildren and everything else. So we had to ride in separate vehicles. Well, Mason and Destiny rode with me. And who else was in the car? Tony and Jimmy. And we were talking the whole ride home about her and how creepy that was, and something just wasn't right. We pulled up in my driveway, and I've got this horseshoe-shaped driveway, and we pulled in one end and came right up to the front doors to unload everything. Well, Mason, why did you go up into your room?
I was rearranging.
Oh yeah, you were going to rearrange your room. And the TV was sitting on his dresser, and where was it?
On the bed.
TV was on the bed.
Oh, the TV was sitting squarely on the bed.
With pillows around it.
With pillows around it.
Huge tube TVs.
Yeah, it was one of those huge tube TVs. And so he had the TV propped with pillows all the way around, and he was rearranging his room while we were unloading. Now, mind you, I'm downstairs in the driveway outside. He's upstairs in his room, and he just entered the bedroom doorway, and the TV jumped off of the frickin' bed and landed on the friggin' ground and smashed. And it sounded from outside in the driveway, which is the opposite side of the house, it sounded like somebody pushed somebody out a window and glass just shattered, and it was this huge, it rocked the whole house.
And you had knickknacks and stuff on the bedroom wall, like on the living room wall, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And out of everything on the wall, the only thing that fell was this stained glass Serenity Prayer, and it smashed.
Yeah. So it rocked the whole house, and it was out of the blue. He hadn't even entered the bedroom yet. So I came running up the stairs screaming, what the F is going on? And he's like, I don't know. The TV just decided to jump off of the bed and smash on the floor. And that was just the beginning of some of the things that were happening around here. Let's see. What else did we put? Oh, we actually went back to the park several times, at different times of the week and different times of the day, just driving around looking for Scary Mary Park Ranger, and we never saw her there again. I mean, we saw other park rangers, but never her again. And I kind of wanted to, because I wanted to confront her,
We've had several parties there.
We've gone there every single summer.
Yeah.
Countless times.
Yeah, we have probably on average 8 birthday parties there minimum a year.
Because didn't we have a birthday party the next weekend or the weekend after, right at the park too? Or
Yeah.
we're everybody called each other oh, is Scary Mary gonna show up again?
But Jimmy got really mad at me because I gave her my phone number, and he couldn't understand why I did it. He's like, you knew it was the devil. Why did you give her your phone number? And I said, because I wanted to confront her. I wanted her to call me, because I wasn't afraid. Yeah.
If that would have happened before that prayer group incident.
Yeah, then I would have tied the two together, but I don't know. We see and hear the strangest things. One time, me and Haley, or should I use my proper grammar? Haley and I went to a Christian bookstore in West Allis, Wisconsin, which is probably about 10 miles away from my house. And We went inside, and this is right after we started seeing that shadow man. Mason, you just had a chipmunk trying to crawl inside your car.
You scared me so much.
If he's gonna pay gas, I mean, go ahead.
No, he was cute as hell.
He's right
There he is. Yeah, I don't think chipmunks can do much damage to your tire. Anyways, so we drove there, and this is right after we started having problems in this house with the shadow man. So the thing is, when one of my sons saw this shadow man, he actually saw that he had gray, scraggly hair and a beard and mustache. And he said that he was really tall as the doorway. And he was wearing a black hat with a drover coat, which is something that you'd see on a cowboy in the Old West, is one of those drover coats. And he was wearing cowboy boots. So that kind of freaked us out, but whatever. And then we get to the Christian bookstore, and I walk in. And normally when I walk into a Christian bookstore, I don't have any kind of off feeling. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's where I go to buy my prayer books and, rosaries and stuff like that to kind of guard my house. So I feel like it's supposed to be a safe place. Well, this particular day, I walk in with Haley, and we get walking through looking for the Pieta prayer books and whatever. All of a sudden, this man appears out of nowhere right behind us, and he's tall. And I see that he's got gray hair, and it's all pulled back into a ponytail. And it was about the same length that my son had described. And he was wearing all black, a black shirt, black pants, black cowboy boots with the chains on the ankles, just like my kids had described. And the strangest thing was, he said, "Tell me about your demons." Now, you don't expect to hear that from somebody in a Christian bookstore. So I kind of lost my words, and I was like, and Haley says, "We're looking for a Pieta prayer book." So he pointed out where they would be. And we found everything that we needed. I even found a bracelet. What kind of bracelet was that, Mason, that we took it home and found out that it was incorrect, biblically incorrect? It wasn't a rosary. Wasn't it like Stations of the Cross or Saints or something? Stations of the Cross. And there were stations missing.
And I think like the crucifixion was on there like 3 times.
Yeah, the crucifixion was on there like 3 times. And so that was off. But anyways, so we gather up all the things that we wanted to get, and we walked up to the counter, and he comes to ring us up, and he says, "You never answered me." And I looked at him and I said, "What?" Because at this point I was like frustrated, scared, and apprehensive of the whole situation. And he said, "Tell me about your demons." And I looked at him dead in the eye and I said, "Well, he looks exactly like you." And he kind of laughed and put my items in the bag, and I just turned around and walked out of the store. And I thought, well, I'm never going back there again. We get in the car, and Haley is shaking like a leaf on a tree. And I looked at her, and she looked at me, and she said, "Did that really just happen?" And I said, "Yeah, it did." She goes, "That was the creep." And that's what we call the shadow man that lurks around. And it's not just at this house. It's happened at many of our houses. At one point in time in Muskego, Wisconsin, when we were living out there, we had to call the police because there was this guy with scraggly gray hair, a beard, and mustache that was coming around and petting my dog, my German Shepherd, through the kennel. And Vinny, my son, would open the door and be like, "Can I help you?" And I was gone at the time, so it was just Vinny taking care of the younger kids. And he's like, "That's a mighty fine dog you have there." And Vinny's like, "Yeah, it's my mom's." And he's like, he's a real beauty. And he'd pet the dog. And my dog is like growling at him. And Vinny would, tell him, "You need to leave now." Well, he'd peek in the windows and do all kinds of stuff. So Vinny would end up calling the police. The police would come just as I'm pulling up to come home. And I don't know how many times we chased this guy around the whole city of Muskego, and he's running like he was 20 years old. And at one point in time, he ran through the back door of our house, and we saw him go down into the basement. And because there was a flag, we had the POW flag hanging in the doorway at the bottom of the stairs. And he ran right through it. And we followed right behind him, checked everywhere in that basement with the police, and he was nowhere to be found. The police have it on record that they chased him in and out of yards in Muskego. And we even heard him over the police scanner saying that he ran into the yard with the fence on Durham, and dispatcher told him not to go into that yard because that's where they have the exotic animals. Yeah. So it's
They had a kangaroo there that kicked the chief of the fire department
yeah.
because he got loose.
Yeah, the kangaroo that was in that yard kicked the fire chief right in the gut, knocked him down, and also boxed a police officer. So, yeah, the dispatcher kind of told everybody to just stay out of that yard and watch for him. They never found him.
Well, the guy had a tiger in there. He had a kangaroo. He had ostriches,
Emus, and all kinds of
Yeah,
things,
tons of
all
stuff.
kinds of exotic
Kangaroos, sure.
animals. Yeah, emus.
I'd rather go against a tiger than a kangaroo.
For sure. Kangaroos are bad. They'll get you.
Have you seen Kangaroo Jack?
Yeah.
But anyways, so we kind of looked at each other in the car like, did that really happen? So we sat there and we said a Hail Mary and Our Father, and, just asked for guidance. And as we were driving home, we got to the intersection of Highway 100 and Janesville Road, and we were at the stoplight facing, the direction that we were going to go. But off to our right in cross traffic, I see this. It was a green Maverick car, and it was about to turn the corner. And for some reason, it was just odd that it caught my eye as he was turning the corner in front of us. His big bald head stuck out the window, and he wasn't wearing a shirt, and his eyes were huge and black, and his mouth was hanging wide open, and he was screaming like you would hear a roar from like a tiger or a lion. He just did that all the way around the corner, staring me and Haley dead in the eye. And again, we looked at each other, and I was like, "Did that just happen?" She said, "Yeah, that was a friggin' demon." His body was matrixed out of the frickin' car 3/4 of the way. It was definitely aimed and directed towards us. So we went home and we saged the whole house. And
Well, you went to the grocery store and you were in the parking lot there, and I think you just ran in and Haley saw him in that other vehicle.
yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah, she saw him. We went to Walmart, wasn't it? I don't know. But just I ran in because Haley didn't like going in stores back then. And she still doesn't. She has her groceries curbside.
Mhm.
But while I was inside the store, she saw him in another car.
He was in like a work truck type thing. It was not really a van, but it wasn't. I forget what kind of vehicle it was.
Like a cube van?
No, it was smaller. One of those smaller vehicles has no windows on the back of the van. The smaller, like
Yeah.
square things, and has the windows in the front. And like the back had like painting, you know, like a business, like wrap around it. And she saw him in there, and he just stood, like stared at her and did the same like open mouth thing at her. And she basically hid underneath the dash of the car until mom came out.
Yeah. I don't know. But that's when everything started really kicking up around here. It got to the point where Haley wouldn't sleep in her own room. You guys wouldn't sleep in your own rooms. So I would sleep out in the family room on the couch, and you guys would take your sleeping bags and pillows and camp out in the family room. Haley had to be right tight up to my couch because she said that at night when we'd all fall asleep, you could see the knickknacks on these ledges around my family room rearranging themselves. And I would wake up the next day and everything was in disarray. But yeah, I don't know how many times I've had to sage and, do a cleansing on the house. And like I said, things are getting stronger nowadays. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's because we're so far into the end of times that they know it. I mean, it's written in the Bible that God gave Satan only so long on earth, and then he was going to be cast back into hell. And I think he's desperate. He knows his time is coming near, So he's trying to capture as many souls as he can before, it all ends. And I think he picked the wrong family because we're not afraid of him. I mean, well, Haley is, but
she's afraid of small crowds too.
Yeah, she's afraid of everything. But yeah, Chihuahua. But yeah, he picked the wrong crowd, the wrong family to mess with, because I don't care. I'll cast them out all day. I have no fear when it comes to this shit. I mean, things freak me out a little bit at first, but I turn around and I try to deal with it, I mean, look at when we did that Ouija board at the time. I mean, I'm not afraid to stand toe to toe with it. Do you guys have any memories of anything that you wanted to discuss tonight? I'll take that as a no. You wouldn't believe it, but when the microphone's not on, these two don't stop talking. Sometimes I think to myself that, if they just go to sleep. But as soon as that microphone turns on, it's zipped lips and...
I mean, activity's picked up at my house a lot lately.
I keep telling you that we should go over there with the equipment and...
like there was I forgot, it was a couple nights ago I messaged you guys and I was like, there's a toy going off in the toy box and I have no idea what toy it is, but it's not making any like noises that any of our toys have. Yeah. Like it's just like this weird, creepy, like little girl's voice. We don't have any toys like that talk like that. Mm-hmm. And I'm literally, it's what was it, like 4:00 in the morning? I'm literally jumping around in my living room trying to like activate this toy to go off so I can turn it off. Mm-hmm. And I'm OCD about like I have to turn off toys before I go to bed. Because if I hear you talking, you're in the garbage. You're done.
Well, that's because of what you've seen go on here.
And nothing's on, nothing's talking. I'm in there pressing buttons and nothing's going on. And it just goes off randomly. Like I wasn't even in the living room. I was in the bathroom. And I have the door open just in case any of the kids wake up. and the toy's talking in the living room again. I'm like, what the heck? And then it would go for like a day, it didn't say anything. And then today, randomly in the middle of the day, it starts talking again. And then shortly after that toy was talking, I do resin art, and I had some stuff up above the sink. I've got a shelf up there,
Mm-hmm.
and I have stuff up there that's like half done projects and stuff like that, projects that haven't turned out, whatever. And one of them was a moon calendar, and they're just like big round discs made out of resin that you put together like a puzzle, and it makes a calendar. And I have a wind chime in there that I'm making, and the wind chime is hanging off the shelf. And we're just sitting there, and all of a sudden the wind chime is just being knocked back and forth. And we're like, what the heck? And we're like, okay, something fell, the kids jumped, whatever.
Yeah.
And didn't think anything of it. And then, like, not even a minute later, it starts smashing around again. Well, finally, Tanner's like, what the heck is going on? So he goes in there. My resin stuff is like thrown across the kitchen. All my moon calendar pieces are all over like freaking frisbees all over the kitchen.
See, a lot of people think that ghosts can't move things, that that's a poltergeist or whatever. But actually, if you have an entity that is strong enough, they are going to move things. I kid around with my family and I tell them, when I die, I'm going to come back. And if I can, I'm going to move things. If I can, I'm going to take lipstick and write on the mirror or write in the steam, I see you, or whatever. I'll change your channels. I'll do whatever I can to let you know that I'm still there. And I truly believe in my heart of hearts that there are spirits that can move things. They can manipulate your electronics. They can do all kinds of crazy things. And they're just showing you that they can.
I also think it depends on the energy in the house.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Because, like, we all experience stuff and are sensitive to stuff. So I feel like they feed off of our energy, like
They
super
know that we
expensive
can-
batteries.
Yeah.
We
See,
can
I'm
just
kinda-
feel them.
I'm kind of guilty, like when we're doing a ghost hunt, no matter where we are, even when we went to that insane asylum that's been closed down for decades. We did a ghost hunt there. And I'm always saying things like, you can use the energy from the batteries from our equipment, and they drain them. And you can draw energy from us. And I do believe that they do, because after a ghost hunt, I'm exhausted. I mean, we can go on a 4-hour ghost hunt, and I feel like I put in a 12-hour shift.
And I know, like, lately in my house, I've been like just super exhausted. Like, not wanting to do anything. If I sit down too long, I'm asleep.
Yeah. Same here. And that's why I keep wanting to go places and, take my car out for a ride or do something just to get out of the house, because I know that they're comfortable here and that they're drawing off of us. I mean, how else do you explain, like, my keys jumping off the center of that table? They're drawing from our energy and they're seeing what they can do, and I don't know. Speaking of that haunted insane asylum that we went to, does anybody want to talk about that and all the entities that we encountered that night?
I mean, there's just so much going on there. It's hard to.
Well, we went with a professional ghost hunting team, and it was a paid tour. We paid money to go on this tour of the haunted insane asylum. We no sooner walked in and my ghost hunting equipment started going off, naming off names of actual residents that used to live there. And when it said Mammy, that was one of the African American women that was in there, and that was her nickname. That's what they called her. And that just blew the lead ghost hunter's mind that, that came across on the ghost hunting equipment. We picked up so much energy in those rooms. And I mean, you could feel the energy. You could feel the craziness, I guess. I mean, they were insane. You could actually feel the crazy energy in the building, and things were moving, and
like big steel doors were slamming behind us, and those doors were heavy. Like we tried to move them just to see if it was, like a draft, because there was no electricity, there was no heat, there was no nothing there. Like it was just us.
yeah.
And we were in one part of the asylum where it was like the real crazy people were. And then there's like a main corridor in the middle, and then there's another hallway off of that. And we were in the really crazy hallway, and on the other side of the main corridor, there's that other hallway, and we would hear doors slamming, people pounding, screaming. It was just, they were trying to get our attention in the hallway we were just in. And we would take our attention off of like where we were, and we're like, okay, what's going on over there, whatever. And then all of a sudden, like one of the room doors would like slam behind us.
And those were rusted where they were.
Yeah, there was no moving these doors. Yeah. And that one room we went into, there, like I said, there's no electricity, but you could see lights in there flickering. So we're like, okay, we have to go in that room because there's lights flickering. There's no electricity here. There hasn't been electricity here in years.
Yeah, but I think a little something came home with us from that place too. And I think that's the real hostile energy that we get here once in a while. Because spirits and everything, actually, demons, all of it, can manipulate our behavior. It causes people to argue amongst each other. It's just a real heavy tension. And ever since then, I mean, I feel its presence. And like I said, I mean, I sage more than anybody I know and try to do cleansings, and it really doesn't help.
There's like even in my house, like literally if the things that are going in my house could laugh, they'd sit there and laugh in your face. Like as you're saging, you see them peeking around the corner.
Yeah.
I'm literally chasing a shadow around my house, saging, and it doesn't do anything. It just makes it angry.
Well, that's like I was telling that person, that family member that we went over to her house last week. When you're saging, make sure you open a window, because otherwise you're just chasing the entity around the building, I don't know. I really, truly believe that, being this far into the end of times as we are, and anybody that's read Revelations knows that we really are in the end of times. There's more coming, bigger, worse things than what's going on now. But yeah, we're in it. And the devil is mad. He wants to get more souls, and he's not having ours. Anybody commenting at all?
Jessie.
And what'd Jessie say?
That it's been quiet out by her, and she wants to come to a ghost hunt sometime. And she said that my mom said all you have to do is call Nikki. I said my spirits aren't afraid of her, so it doesn't work.
Yeah, I want to get to your house and take care of stuff, but I think I'm just more curious. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because we did the cleansing.
Yeah, we've done cleansing so many times, and they're just getting too powerful now. And I know, oh my gosh, thinking about Jessie's house, it was crazy, because the obelisk was saying things like axe. And we're like, we kind of giggled it off, like, axe?
Yeah, and they're like, we don't have an axe.
We don't have an axe. We don't have an axe. Well, after we sat and listened to it talk for a while, we walked around her house right on her living room wall because Marilyn is Native American. And she had an Indian, a replica axe right on her wall. What do they call it? Like a tomahawk.
Mhm.
And that's what it meant. I turned and I looked at everybody. I was like, are you guys freaking retarded? And they kind of laughed and looked at me and couldn't figure out what I was talking about. I was like, didn't the thing just say axe? She's like, yeah. I said, what's on your fucking wall?
But it just became like, it's been there forever.
Yeah.
Like they walk past it, they don't even notice it.
Yeah.
Jesse said, I'm dying.
But yeah, a lot of things. I mean, things are appearing in her house that were never there before. She found a clear stone and it has an angel inside of it. And I remember when Grandma Wilson was going through after she had her hip replacement and then she got dementia and Alzheimer's and she started fading. I had bought that for her and it said it was a guardian angel. I bought one like it. And when she passed away, I got it back. And so when I went to, oh yeah, I gave it to Delilah, my granddaughter, because she has nightmares. And I told her to sleep with this guardian angel stone under her pillow.
Well, it's not only nightmares she has like whatever's in my house, like will whisper in her ear and stuff like that while she's trying to sleep and wake her up. And
yeah.
So they torment her while she's sleeping. So she has her bag of stones that she sleeps with. And when she has her stones on her, they don't bother her.
Yeah, I even taught her how to regenerate the stones. And she feels that she's got power now, to keep whatever is near her at bay.
Well, remember that, we'll get back to the stone again, but remember that, what was that white stone? I forgot what mineral that was.
I forgot.
I forgot what that one's called. But you gave her that one, and she had it for like 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
And one day she woke up, and the stone was literally broken in 3 pieces.
Yeah, and how does it do that under a child's pillow?
Yeah. And we tried recreating like what could have happened, and I mean, it was just laying under her pillow. It's not like she was smashing the bag around or anything. That's like her prized possession is her stones. So, but yeah.
But getting back to the stone, all of a sudden, Marilyn and Jesse were telling me that they found a real tiny little ring and a clear stone with an angel in it in their house, which is all the way in Cudahy, nowhere near us. I mean, the only time I basically see them is when I go out there to figure out what the hell's going on in their house with the spirit stuff. And I didn't bring it because Delilah had it. So I get to her house and she shows me. In fact, this one is bigger. The one at Marilyn's house is bigger than Delilah's.
I'm not sure because I went back home and I looked at Delilah's again, and it's bigger than I thought it was.
Oh, okay.
But hers is wrapped in. It's got Krenlin wrapped around it. It made its own little baggie for it.
Yeah, but out of the blue, this stone appeared with this metal ring. It looked like an infant's ring, or somebody with a real tiny finger.
It was like newborn size.
Yeah,
like it wouldn't even fit on like a pencil.
Yeah,
like it's really
creepily small.
A doll ring?
No, because this is real metal with real
and it's
stones.
Like it's like a long ring, and it's real intricate.
The
design on it and everything.
When I first saw it, the first thing I thought was, that's a witch ring. And I didn't want to say anything to Marilyn because she has heart problems. So I didn't want to add to...
I want to say it on here while she's listening.
No, I think just Jesse is listening. But anyways, when we first went out to her house, we took her a Bible, one of my own personal Bibles, and a crucifix. Now, for some reason, the Bible disappeared, the crucifix disappeared, and a Bible that she, I guess, got from the library or something disappeared and then reappeared and then disappeared again. So it's just weird. And what was I going to say now?
And the ring disappeared after.
Oh yeah, the
we
ring
went
disappeared
there
after
last
we
time.
left.
Mhm.
And at first I was like, oh my God, is she accusing us of taking it? And she goes, no, it was here after you left, but then it disappeared. So I don't know. And, you know, I've had a lot of people ask me, why you? Why can you see these things and hear these things? And, you know, your kids hear and see and feel these things. It's not like we stood in a line and went, oh, me, you know. I believe that everybody can, but
No.
not everybody's ready for it.
No. When people ask, well, why you? When you go to church, do you ask the priest, well, why you? When you go in to have surgery, do you ask the surgeon, oh, why you? You don't. That's their
That's
gift.
true.
Is they were the ones that were chosen to be at that place, that time. That was the path that God had for them. And
That's
before you're
true.
born, God has your path already planned out. He knows what you're going to be, what you're going to do, and it's up to you to like follow his cues and get to that point.
Like I've watched, you know, like people singing on TV and I think, damn, why can't I sing like that? You know, people pay them millions of dollars to sing. People would pay me millions of dollars just to stop singing, you know. But I have to realize that, you know, not everybody can sing. Not everybody can dance. Not everybody can do brain surgery. Not everybody can do all these things out here.
Because you can put 20 people in a classroom.
Yeah.
To be a brain surgeon. Not all 20 of those people are going to become brain surgeons.
Maybe two.
Maybe. Out of 20, maybe the one. You know, like it's not. I don't think it's something that everybody can do.
Yeah. I don't know. I always just kind of thought, because like, look at Dad. Dad has been a naysayer and a doubting Thomas since the day I met him, you know? And
so why would God waste that ability on somebody who's not going to do anything with it?
But now within like the last probably, well, when did Rosie have her first litter of puppies?
2012.
2012. So for the last 10 years, he's been starting to see things now, and he is a skeptic. He's like, one time he says, I was laying in bed and I saw these like flickers of light, and I had him draw what he saw. He was seeing sprites, which is another entity in itself, you know.
I mean, everybody has the ability to like see the signs that the spirit world gives to you, but not everybody has the ability to like communicate.
But there are a lot of people that like, oh, you know, Miss Wilson over there, her mom passed away a year ago, and now all of a sudden she's walking around the house and she'll find a penny and she knows she just cleaned. Or she hears a knock at the door, but she opens the door and nobody's there. Or a light will flicker and she doesn't understand why. They do make themselves known to whoever they want.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, she may not have the ability to hear them talk, but she sees these things and then just dismisses it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think a lot of people see things or hear things and they're like, oh, I wish my dead loved one could, you know, communicate with me from beyond the grave. Well, dumbass, they are trying to, but you're just too thick to see it. You're too closed-minded to accept that that's what it is. Where, like I said, I've been experiencing this stuff since I was 18 months old in a crib. I remember standing there in my crib talking to a woman in a long pale blue dress, and I thought she had a tablecloth on her head, a white tablecloth on her head. I don't know who it is. I don't know what it was. I mean, I've got my suspicions, but I'm not going to come out and say, oh, I believe I was talking to the Blessed Mary, you know, but it was somebody like her. And I don't know. I guess we just deal with what we can, you know, and I think, like you said, God gives his gifts to certain people.
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason I'm on here on Supernatural Sunday telling these stories is because there are so many people out there that do hear these things, that do see these things, that do feel these things, but they don't talk to anybody about it because they're afraid to. I don't give a crap what anybody says if they believe or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm putting it out there for those that want to listen, those that don't know where the delete button is, you know? And I want an open relationship with people that are willing to talk about it or that are just intrigued about hearing what kind of things do happen.
Yeah.
I mean, I've turned my husband into a believer. Maybe not as much as we believe, but he's starting to believe.
Yeah. Oh, we forgot to tell Jesse too that it was like 2 days after we left their house
Uh-huh.
that I woke up and Delilah's stones are in a velvet satchel, and I tied the string on it so that it can't open because we do have a 1-year-old at home and we don't want her choking on a stone. So I tied it in a knot so none of the stones can come out. And Delilah knows that it stays tied up until they have to be recharged, and then she has to come tell me that, you know, it needs to be untied or whatever.
Yeah.
Kids were still sleeping. I wake up and her guardian angel stone,
The clear stone with the angel in it. Yeah.
was still in the Kremlin, but it was laying on the floor next to me. It got out of the bag somehow. And Delilah takes inventory of which stones are in her bag, and she has to make sure that they're in there.
Delilah is very meticulous about her stones because she feels that's the only power that she has to deal with what's going on around her.
Well, and when she has the stones, because they're purposely picked, but when she has those stones, she's fine. Like, they don't talk to her, they don't mess with her at all.
Mm-hmm.
It's when, you know, the one night where she'll forget to grab her stones off the TV stand and, you know, take them to her pillow and put them under her pillow.
Yeah.
And she has to, you know, put them under her pillow in a certain way, and she's got to hold it there. Then she has to lay her head right directly on top of the stones.
Yeah.
The nights that she doesn't have her stones is the nights that she wakes up and she tells me, oh, this happened, this happened, this happened. But the night she has her stones, nothing happens.
Well, I was never the mom that would tell the kids or the grandkids that, oh, it was just a dream, or you were having a nightmare, or, you know, you were just imagining it. You know, you ate too much ice cream before dinner or whatever, and so you're hearing and seeing crazy things. I tried to empower them. That's why, like with Mia, my oldest granddaughter, I gave her a sprayer bottle filled with holy water from the church. And I told her, you are now armed. Nothing is more powerful than God, Jesus, and the Blessed Mother Mary. So if you see or hear anything, you spray it with the holy water and you say, go away. God said, go away. So here I had this 2-year-old, 3-year-old, 4-year-old, 5-year-old walking around spraying things all hours of the day and night, and she felt empowered.
And finally I took out a mist because she could mop it up after her.
Well, it sure beat how I was raised. My mom would tell me that I was just having a bad dream, go back to sleep.
Yeah, but what do you tell a kid like Delilah woke up? How long ago was that, Mason? It was a couple weeks ago, wasn't it? Where she woke up and she was like, Mom. And I was like, what? She's like, why did you come to my ear and whisper skin? Somebody got in her ear and whispered skin. And like Marie said, maybe it said like sin or like another
Yeah.
word that she, like she was sleeping, so she doesn't really, hear.
Or she caught the end of a sentence.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
And I was like,
you're going to have to arm her with the sprayer bottle of holy water. What? You have to empower her.
I gave her power. She's getting stones.
Well,
give her a Swiffer wetjet with holy water in it.
Clean while you're doing
Clean while you're
it.
doing it.
I'll give her a feather duster.
I just don't believe in lying to kids and telling them that, you're just a kid, you have an overactive imagination.
Well, I was just like, oh, that's weird. We just went about our day. Like, I'm not going to tell her, like, oh, that was a demon.
Yeah,
She's
no.
already anxiety ridden to the core.
Don't go that far, but I'm saying, tell her that she knows that there's spirits.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about it before. I told her there's good spirits and there's bad spirits, and you have to take power over the bad spirits, or, you're going to be scared for the rest of your life.
Yeah. I mean, there was times where like things were whispering to her or like pulling her hair. And, I just tell her, like, tell them, leave me alone. You're not allowed to touch me. I said no.
Yeah.
And just giving her that power of like, okay, this is.
But, there is going to come a day that she's going to run into something that's not going to listen to her. And it may become more harmful, and you're going to have to deal with that.
Well, I mean, when she gets a little bit older, right?
Well, it could happen tomorrow.
Yeah. If I don't have to tell her about it right the second.
Oh, yeah, I don't want you to plant a seed and be like, Delilah, watch out, there's demons, or anything like that. But
because even
just don't ever lie to her.
Yeah. Even Maverick, they were in the kitchen playing, and all of a sudden he just started screaming, like blood-curdling scream. And
now explain to the listeners that how old Maverick is versus how old Delilah is.
Well, Maverick is 3, will be 4 in August, and Delilah will be 7 in May. And they were in the kitchen playing with slime. And I think I've told the story before, but they're in there, they're laughing, they're having, they're living their best lives, getting in all my dishes and getting everything full of slime. And all of a sudden, it goes from laughing to a blood-curdling scream. And Maverick will not move. And normally when Maverick, if he gets hurt, if he gets scared, if he gets anything, he's running to somebody.
Yeah, you or Tanner or Granny or whoever's near.
Yeah, like he comes and he finds an adult, because I tell him, from the time they're little, laying there screaming does nothing. Get up and find somebody to help you.
Yeah.
And so he's in the kitchen and he's screaming, and I'm trying to take care of the baby, and I'm like, what is going on? And Delilah's like, he's scared. I'm like, scared of what? Like, what did you do?
Yeah.
And she's like, nothing, we're sitting here playing. And he's just screaming. And Tanner was upstairs taking a shower. He comes downstairs, and I'm like, can you get him? He's scared. And so Tanner goes in there to get him. And Maverick is like burying his head into Tanner because he didn't want to see anything. Comes into the living room, crawls on the couch next to me, and I'm trying to, get him to explain what's going on, and his vocabulary isn't quite there yet. And I'm like, what is going on? What are you scared of? And he kept just saying, potty, potty. I'm like, you have to go potty? And he's like, no. I'm like, no. And I'm like, well, what? And he goes, woo. And he does like the little arm thing.
Yeah.
I'm like, there was a ghost? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, well, what did it do? And he's like describing that it was just like standing over him with his hands like trying to like get down at him, like hands are up above his head. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, well, if you see it again, tell it to go away.
Yeah.
And because he wanted to go play with the slime, and he wanted the slime in the living room, and I said no. I was like, if you want to play with slime, you have to go back in the kitchen. So he goes back in there, and not even 10 minutes later, he's in there screaming again because the same thing happened.
Well, see, all right. There are situations where a house has a haunting, okay? Which I think is your house because, like I told you, upstairs somebody committed suicide. Um, it was, I'm thinking, from what I'm picking up from your house, they committed suicide in the bathtub. Downstairs, there's a female entity that guards the kitchen, and she's an older woman, and she's not a nice woman. She's like an old Karen, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where everything has to be her way, and you're an intruder. She doesn't know why you're in her kitchen area. She spent a lot of time in that area.
Hence why she throws everything around your kitchen.
That's why things are thrown about in your kitchen. But I feel that she passed from like a heart attack or something in that kitchen. And so, but there's house hauntings and there's people hauntings. Now, I think there's some kind of, I don't know, family curse or something. Our family tree needs to be cleansed because we have a lot of Freemasons and Illuminati members in the cemeteries where we go that are our family members. It's not just a generational curse, it's a lineage curse. We had family members that used to make money during the Great Depression doing tarot cards, doing readings, stuff like that. I know for a fact that my grandfather, well, he's my grandfather because it's my mother's father, who was a very, very evil man. He was very into dark shit that I would never touch. And he hated females. And I think he's one of the entities that bothers the female members of our family. You know, the children. And like, I know he tries to come into my life and screw with me, you know, tries to scare me, tries to manipulate me, and I won't let him. We call him Jack. He was a very bad man who used several different names because he was running from the law, because he was just a manipulative man. He was abusive to his own daughters, to my grandma Rose. Very bad, evil man. But he hid behind a Bible. He used to tell the kids, you know, that, you know, you have to read the Bible for a punishment and stuff like that. But come to find out, he was into very, very dark magic. And I wouldn't doubt that he made some kind of a pact with the devil himself. So we're dealing with a lot of shit. And it's not just, you know, my kids and my grandchildren that have these abilities. It's generations back. I mean, even my grandma Rose saw things and heard things and knew things that most people don't know.
Yeah.
But she kept it quiet because, you know, hence the insane asylums back then.
Yeah. It's like I was hanging out with my one friend and her grandma just passed away. And I was in her house and I was walking through and I was like, you know, where she was talking about her grandma and how she had to, you know, like get the house all cleaned up and things like that. And I've met her grandma before. I used to go over there all the time. And so her and I had, you know, a real open relationship about it. And I was like, so your grandma passed away like right here, right? We're in the hallway. And she was like, yeah. Like, how did you know this? And I'm like, well, her head was right here. And I was like, there's her bedroom. And, she was coming through, and this is exactly where she was laying. And she was like, yeah. And she was like, well, how did you know that? And I'm like, I told her that, when I don't have my walls down up, um, I was like, I just have this, strong feeling that, your grandma needs to talk to you, like she didn't want to leave like this.
I remember you calling me right when that happened because you ran out of the house because you were picking up so much of her spirit, and you actually told your friend what your grandma said,
Yeah.
what her grandma said.
Mm-hmm.
She gave you a message to give to your friend.
Yeah. Yeah, and she's in there all shooken up, and I'm like, well, now I just ruined the night. And I go outside, I'm like, I'm still shooken up because I'm like, okay, that was like the strongest anybody's ever like come through and like spoke before.
Yours came through gradually. I mean, you saw things when you were, like 2 and 3 and 4. And I didn't talk about it and you can ask any of my kids. I didn't really talk to you guys about what you were seeing and what you were hearing and stuff like that. I mean, I would say, I'd tell you like I tell the grandkids, there's good spirits and there's bad spirits. And some people are lucky and they can see, these kinds of things. And I said, but you're okay. They can't hurt you. But as you got older, more and more and more of your gifts kind of revealed themselves. And I think at that point with your friend's grandma, that was something that you were not prepared for. And that's why you broke down crying like that.
Yeah, because I mean, I was able to put my walls up for like other things, but I didn't know like that could happen.
Yeah.
I wasn't prepared.
Well, how about the night before you turned 18? Do you remember sitting there in the kitchen when we were living in Muskego? And we were baking. That was the night that
Smelt molasses.
you smelt molasses. And what did you say?
I was like, this stuff smells weird. I think I like it. And then I blinded myself with a pan.
Yeah, the Pam cooking spray. She goes to spray it and it shoots.
I went to line it up because it said it had to be lined up with the mark on the can. So I lined it up and it went in my eye. And I'm like, blah! Fell off the kitchen stool.
Yeah, and I'm such a great mom. I don't even try to help her. I'm just laughing my ass off thinking, well, now you got a nice greased up, lubed up eyeball.
I thought I was going to die. It hurt. Hurt a lot.
But so we were sitting there baking.
Eventually.
Yeah, when we weren't screwing around being weird. But
stole my snacks.
Don't steal Missy's snacks.
I'm gonna open them quietly.
But anyways, so we're baking, and I've got this boombox radio sitting on the breakfast bar, and I had like this galley kitchen on one side of the breakfast bar, and I had a dinette area with a 3-sided bench and then a chair at the other end of the table. So the boombox is right on the breakfast bar. We're in the galley part of the kitchen cooking and baking. And normally I've got the boombox plugged in so we could listen to music. Well, that night we weren't listening to anything, and we were just talking, and all of a sudden the song Unchained Melody came on the radio. Out of nowhere. The boombox turned on by itself.
Spooky song to begin with.
Yeah,
Oh, I've always loved that
love
song.
that song, but I mean, it's not something that like if your radio turns on.
I can't listen to it by myself.
But it blasted as loud as the radio could go. It's just screaming Unchained Melody. Scared the bejesus out of us, and I ran over and I hit the button, turned it off, and I was like, what the actual fuck was that? And Missy's like, I don't know, but I don't like it. And I was like, that is weird. And as soon as I walked back over to the area that I was baking, it turned on again. So I was like, oh, a wise guy, huh? So I went around and I unplugged it on the dinette side because it was plugged in on that side. I unplugged it and I threw the cord on the counter. I walked back over and it turns on again. Missy's like, are there freaking batteries in there? So I pulled the back off, took the batteries out, put it back together without batteries, without being plugged in, and the mother effer played the rest of the song. So then I took the damn radio and I tossed it in the basement. I was done. But yeah, that's the kind of shit we deal with on a daily. I mean, I couldn't even do enough podcasts to tell all the things that happen in our family. Between the POW event with Alan Gardner and that we talked about, I think, last week, and just everyday things. But, well, we have been on here for almost an hour and a half, so.
Well, Jessie said that she's heard from one of her dad's sisters that the Eve side of the family is cursed. She hasn't gotten much more information about it.
Well, just so that there's no hard feelings on that side of the family, I'm really not, because I'm not really related to that side of the family except through my Uncle Brian and, you know, his daughters and his wife. But just so that I don't say anything bad about that side of the family and offend anybody, I'm just going to have to let that one go. But I know for a fact that my mom's dad, my mom's whole side of the family has some kind of curse thing going on, and I don't know really what to do with it. I think I was put here, you said God gives everybody a purpose. My purpose, I'm the one out of all the family members that questions everything. I'm the one trying to do the genealogy and find out who my grandparents were, who my great-grandparents were, and on and on and on, and find the whole family. That's why I'm collecting their grave dirt and putting it in jars, and it has their name on it, what cemetery, everything, so that I can hand it down to my kids and my grandkids so that they know their family and where to find the grave. You know,
Yeah.
A lot of people are like, you have grave dirt in your house? Yeah, it's in mason jars. You want some? You know, I'm not afraid to ask the questions. I'm not afraid to dig and find what I need to find to become who I am. I mean, every single day I'm trying to figure out who the fuck am I and where do I come from and why is this happening in my life? And the only way you're going to get your answers is to go looking for them. You know? So, but anyways, I guess until next week, this is Nikki Luciano, along with Missy and Mason and Destiny. If you have any questions or comments, you can reach me on Facebook. You can go through my Facebook Messenger. My email address is nluciano@outlook.com. Go ahead, send me an email if you want to tell your side of the story, you know, your story, your personal story with the spirit world or anything else. I mean, even I'd be willing to talk aliens with you if you want. There's a lot of stuff our government is finally starting to release. I don't know what we can believe and what we can't, but I'm in for a good story. Until next week, happy listening and sweet dreams.